Um, well, I'm in the firm belief that I don't think you should buy a house with your significant other unless you're married. So if he is fully buying the house, then I think it should be in his name. And then when they get married, they can swap it. Is that what's going on? Like he's spending all his money and buying it?
No, actually, he lives at home right now and is saving, and she's actually also saving and working. So financially, they both have money
Are they
or will
buying the
have
house
money.
together?
It sounds like they're deciding that right now. He's saying, I'll buy the house. And I think she's saying, I want to take care of myself.
Oh, I don't know about you, but I don't think you should ever buy a house together with someone unless you're fully married. And I think that if he wants to buy it, let him, and then just come to the agreement that once you get married, the house will be under both of their names if that's possible.
Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle of like, because I'm going through this right now, right? So I think come hell or high water, would I, because listen, I got screwed in my last marriage from a person who I think if we were voting would all think probably wouldn't screw you. So had I bought a house with that person, I really can't imagine the position I would be in. And I think where he's coming from is a really traditional upbringing of dad paid for everything. Dad's the man of the house. Dad's got mom. And the problem with that is there's no one ever had conversations in that scenario about what if shit hits the fan. And like, luckily for his parents, it didn't. But I used to say when I got married, I was like, I will never, I didn't put protection into place because I thought nothing would ever go wrong. And I lived to tell the tale that something went wrong. And so
It sounded like estate planning worked exactly how it was supposed to, and that why should you get half of his stuff when you A wasn't necessarily married to him, and then B it was his crib or it was something that his parents left to him. Let me see if it was anything else to source from this.
so it's like, I don't think there's any harm in him explaining to her, here's a way that we can both have a little bit of ownership in this house. And so she feels a little bit more comfortable because listen, if he's so sure nothing's going to go wrong, well then no problem putting the insurance plan in place. I
No, no. And see, she kind of explained it in the beginning in that, all right, let me break it down from a few different perspectives. What she did say in the beginning was, well, not in the beginning, but towards the end of it was relevant in that the mother and the father stayed together. That's number one. Number two, it's a completely different environment in that a lot of women are looking to come into the relationship and then just leapfrog off of his greatness in order for her to feel protected. What kind of shit is that? Like, I'm not here to make sure that you're taken care of after you leave, especially when you didn't build it with me. And that's the key, right? Because it gets a lot more complicated. And if you look at a lot of these other communities, like the Jewish community, I've been studying a lot of different cultures. And one of the things that I found in the Jewish community is that there's largely a standard where the person that they automatically like put in prenups, right? Prenuptial agreements are already a thing within the Jewish community to where you don't have to second guess it. This is already the standard, and this is what you get if you leave, so on and so forth, depending on whatever the circumstances are between the people. Now, let me add another caveat in there. I think it's much different and much easier when you building it and you getting it out the mud. And so, within my cultural experience and norms, especially in the Black community, most of the time we build it from nothing. So it seems like we got a lot more to lose, or people are a lot more emotional about their circumstance because when you had to build it from nothing, it's a different feeling because if you spent your whole life investing in yourself, crafting, grinding, hustling, got it out the mud from nothing, you literally came from the hood or the ghetto, which most of us within the culture is, and then you wind up becoming incredibly successful, and then you got to give it up to somebody that didn't help you build. That's devastating. You see what I'm saying? And then also on top of that, I could also understand how somebody feels if they come from an environment where their parents were successful and then just because you came into it afterwards, you inherit everything. That's why protections are put in place. And so I think that prenuptial agreements should almost be mandatory unless y'all literally come from nothing and y'all both got it out the mud early. So you had a vested interest in him being successful, she had a vested interest in you being successful, and then y'all got to it. The other side of it is it makes it that much more complicated when y'all trying to build separately and then you already kind of made, and then you throw into the mix the fact that everybody wanted to be equal, but now you want to feel protected because you feel like you should be in a traditional situation because you wanted to be getting married and you was looking for a retirement plan. That's not how life works. And so when y'all advocated for this, you also need to make sure that you protect yourself if that be the case. That's also why these 50-50 conversations are so important, is because y'all made it a lot more difficult when you advocated for equal, but you didn't want equal results because guys have been getting killed for a long time. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of stories that I've heard, even in modern times, from guys, and I ain't even gonna talk about yesteryear, but from guys that basically is like, yo, listen, family court destroyed me, killed me, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then, when y'all sent this to me, and obviously I had to source out, and I always like to go and find the original source. When y'all sent it to me, I think the sentiment was she wound up getting pregnant or something like that, or buzzed down, and I could be wrong, but she wound up getting pregnant shortly thereafter after they broke up. And so why would I put you in a position to be successful when it took me a lot to get it out the mud, or my parents or my family raised me a certain way, or we come from a traditional environment and I'm supposed to give all of my stuff to you or give half of my stuff to you? Why? Absolutely not. And then on top of that, y'all want to shack up. Y'all want to, and I keep telling y'all, and I know that y'all want to argue it or whatever, but you want to do stuff before you marry, and you making it a lot more complicated, and so it's not as easy for y'all to make the adjustment or make the decisions, and so you got to suffer. You got to suffer based off of the results that you asked for, and so I'm not a fan of how people think that they just gonna do stuff, or you just supposed to take equity into it because you with me and all of that. That's not how it works. I think that everybody, especially if you're not building it together, you didn't get it out the mud together, I think that you should have a prenuptial agreement. Now, one of the arguments that a lot of people are going to say is, well, you know, guys don't really have nothing to be worried about. Yeah, they do. Because most guys don't even get rich, or they don't even meet the apex of who they are until they're in their late 50s, early 60s. So I do think that a lot of guys have a lot to lose. They got pensions, they got 401ks, they got cars, they got homes and all of that. And I can't imagine how it would be financially devastating for a guy to get with a woman after he's already made and then have to give up the majority of his stuff. And then we not even throwing on top of that them leveraging their children in order to even get more out of you. And so, yeah, I think you guys need to start protecting yourself. Stop letting love blind you from making logical decisions and you just leaning into your emotions. Start focusing on, dedicating yourself to thinking logically and thinking clear, and not just thinking based off of the emotional situation or your circumstances at that time, because I've seen it happen too many times. And again, there's standards within other cultures that we can adopt that may be good for us. And if you want a vested interest in what's going to be here, then be here. I ain't heard of nobody, that just work a regular job and then you get equity into the company after you leave. Miss me with that. I'm curious as to what y'all think. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon link is in the description, and then also on top of that, leave a comment. I can't wait to read y'all comments and see what y'all sentiment is. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm gonna holler at you later. Peace.